Hi, I'm Carol Fitzgerald from Bookreporter.com, and I'm here for our latest Book Reporter Talks to interview, and I'll be talking to Wendy Walker today. Now, here's what I really love. I first read Wendy's book, All Is Not Forgotten, a couple years ago, and then Emma in the Night was another Bets On selection, and now we've got The Night Before. So I'm sitting here with a 3-time Bets On author, so this is like so much fun.
It's great.
And each of your books has been different, but they've been deep with psychological suspense. So tell us, first of all, about The Night Before.
So The Night Before is about a 28-year-old woman who goes out on an internet date and doesn't come home. That's the basic premise. But there's 2 twists on this. The first is the structure. So it has a split time frame. So you get to be with her on the date hour by hour the night before, which is why we have the title. But you also get to be with her older sister the next morning when she doesn't come home and the sister is out looking for her and trying to deconstruct the date. So the chapters play off each other. Here's the other twist, which is on the theme. You start to learn that she has this really dark backstory and psychology involved in what happened to her as a child and why she has this sort of darkness in her, that you actually become more afraid of what might have happened to this man on the date than what might have happened to her. So it's not a damsel in distress book at all. It's the opposite of that. And her sister knows as well. So her sister, is starting to put the pieces together and uncover things about her recent past that make her even more afraid that this man, if he turned out to be a liar, may have triggered something in her sister, and she may have lost it.
And see, and I read it, and I'm like, whoa! And now I'm realizing that there was a night before when she was in high school.
Yes,
so there was a really big
another
night before.
Yes.
So it's not just this night
Yes.
and what happened on the date. There's this night before that you are
Yes.
running. So it's written from the 2 different points of view. But then you've also got a psychiatrist. Is it a psychiatrist?
Yes.
That she has met with, and we have his session notes.
Yes.
That are dropping in these little clues.
And they're not linear, so they're they're very short little chapters. They're in dialogue, conversation, narration, and I felt they were necessary because there is a psychology to Laura, which is why we choose the wrong partner, and in this case, a man. And we all have our attachment styles, and they are developed very early on, like ages 0 to 3, and we don't have a factual memory of those years. But whatever went on during those years, if there were any little bumps in the road, could have impacted how we view attachments. And so this is, why sometimes women stay in a cycle of abuse. They were abused as children and they choose abusers. Laura wasn't abused, but she wasn't loved by one of her parents, and there's a reason for that comes out in the book. And she keeps choosing men who don't love her. And the psychologist, for the first time, is trying to get her to see why and understand it. But I felt like I didn't want to bog down the narration of the date with that. So I added the sessions to give you this insight into the psychology, the real psychology that's behind her personality and why she's so angry. Because I didn't want to write like a sociopath.
No.
I wanted her to be relatable. And I think we can all relate to having a little bit of that, the girl who always is attracted to the bad boy, or even if you have that friend who never, you're like, why do you keep choosing this guy?
Why do you like that? Not that one. Again,
yes.
And the session notes are brief. They're very short, but it always is propelling the story forward.
Yes.
So did you add those later, or did you add those when you were writing?
Very carefully plotted this book because the chapters had to play off one another with the clues. So if in Laura's chapter, you're with her on the date and they go somewhere in a car, when you get to Rosie's chapter, she has to then discover the car, that has to happen after, so that the suspense isn't ruined and the surprises aren't ruined. And so I did a whole outline, and then I dropped in which little pieces of the sessions would help illuminate what was happening in those 2 chapter segments.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plotting.
A lot of plotting. This is the first book that I plotted out pretty much like every single clue, every fact that was going to be disclosed, and then the rest of it, it sort of comes organically as you're writing. But this one was plotted very carefully to make it work.
Well, it's a very quick read as a result. In fact, my book club is going to be reading the book, and we're talking to you in a couple of weeks, and somebody wrote, I finished it. It was really a quick read, a quick, easy, and really good read. And that was really, I think it makes a great summer read as well, because so many things are bogged down. They're pages and pages going back and forth. And this was just, you were moving along like this, because whatever happened in this part of the story was, okay, now I see what happened.
Yeah. So this was the first book that I was trying to accomplish that. But the other two books are not as page turny. The intrigue is more of a slow burn. But this book, I wanted that sensation of just tell me what happened to her, what's going to happen. That's what makes it quick, because but I think the secret to writing a book like this, when you have the reader's heart rate going and turning the pages, is then don't make them skip over stuff by bogging down the narration. Make every line something they need to know, so that they don't get irritated reading it. Because when I read a page turner that has that dynamic, and then there's too much stuff bogging it down, I end up skipping it and skipping over it, and I didn't want that to happen.
No, each line, because if you skip something, it's the car matters, this matters, that matters.
Things matter. So I tried to write everything very clean, and everything matters. So you then feel like you don't feel agitated as you're trying to get to the end.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to see what happened, but wait, could it go this way, could that way, whatever. So was One Sister easier to write? Was Laura easier to write than Rosie, or are they both pretty much the same?
Laura was much easier to write, but just because as a writer, I didn't start out being a writer. So writing in first person is much easier for me, because what I actually like to write, and what I enjoy reading as well, is what's going on in someone's head. So like All's Not Forgotten is all in the narrator's head. There's almost no description of a room, a desk, the weather outside, almost nothing. It's all in his head. And so in writing Laura, because it's first person, was much easier. With Rosie, I had to be more descriptive, and it was written
family. She's got kids. She has to be there. Laura is a completely free agent.
And I had to describe them in the third person, so it wasn't. I couldn't just be a quick thought. It's a little bit like writing a script versus a novel, where you don't, you can just say
enter room.
Enter room.
Enter room. Isn't enter room so nice?
Let the director figure out what the room looks like.
And how they're entering the room, whatever. Just enter room. That's all you're going to get.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So internet dating is one crazy game.
Oh my gosh.
So I love that your internet dating site that Laura uses is findlove.com. So how much did you have fun coming up with it? Was Find Love your first name?
Full disclosure, I've done online dating, and I did a couple years, many years ago, when it was just like Match.com, and everything was online, and now it's all the apps. But I wanted her to be on one of the online ones. It just worked better forensically. I thought it was just such a hokey name. Not to diss like eHarmony or OkCupid, but it's
Find Love is what people want.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it hadn't been used. I couldn't believe there was no dating site that FindLove.com seems so.
This is another business. This is a side business started by the book.
Yes, but then as you find out, many people on FindLove.com are not there to find love.
No,
they're there to find other things.
Yeah.
So.
And your internet dating, any of your stories layer into here nowhere near as brutal, or was it just the emotion that goes into it?
Well, it was the emotion, and I don't really like to write about my personal life, but I have so many friends online dating, and the stories kept building up, and there is this deception that goes on. And some of it you get very used to, like, oh yeah, he was, 5 inches shorter, 20 pounds heavier. It happens to men with women too. Everybody lies. They lie about their age, whether they're employed, they lie about everything. But sometimes the lies go deeper. And I did have one experience where a man lied over multiple conversations about his divorce 3 years ago, and it turned out he was still married. And that was a gut punch. It was that feeling that somebody can actually sit and have a conversation with you not just today, but then for 5 minutes on the phone, little snippets. Oh, I stopped by, my ex's house to pick up something. It's all those lies.
The layers all on top of each other.
Yes, that people can do that. That's the gut punch where you're like, oh man.
Over and over, he's saying the same thing to me.
This isn't just a one-off. Like he shows up and he's not who the appearance isn't the same. But a few of my friends had things like that happen, and I thought I want to capture that feeling, of where the deception is
so real and it's so
deep, and it makes you. It's almost like being conned. Mm-hmm. If you've ever someone stolen money from you, like an employee, and it went on for months, and you think about what went into that level of deception, that goes on a lot, and that's what I really wanted to capture.
Well, my husband has a number of friends that have been divorced, and they'll go out on an online date, and he comes home and he goes, never. I know, there's no way I can do this. He goes, this is a lot of work. He goes, this is just a lot of work. And another friend, and she's like, you go to a bar, you're meeting this one, that one. She says, you walk up and you go, no. But you have to sit there and have the drink. And she said, it's nothing like the picture, nothing like whatever. So, and that's what's happening to Laura a lot, is she's just getting burned on these, all along the way. And then she finds who she thinks it's,
It's perfect.
She's also got the dark side to her past. And what made you, besides, the part of not being loved, there was something that happened to her. Was that always something that you had, like, part of the story, or did you say, I need something else for Laura?
I knew that right off the bat, that I needed her, and I actually built her psychological issues in after. I needed her to be an angry tinderbox, because I took the initial concept was, okay, I've got this feeling of, I can't believe somebody would do that to me. But I wanted them to have her be dangerous. I wanted this man who lies to have finally chosen the wrong woman to go after.
Exactly.
Dude, you chose the wrong one, okay? And so I wanted that feeling of that, because I wanted to turn the tables on the damsel in distress or the victimized woman. And so I knew I had to give her anger and something violent that happened that you're not quite sure how involved she was. So I gave her this incident in high school. And it was from there that I built, well, why is she angry? And again, I really don't like to just have sociopathic characters without, and she's not sociopathic, but I always try to build in why a person has the issues that they have, why they think a certain way, why they have vulnerabilities, because we all do. Right. We've all gone through these bumps in the road in our development, and we all have imperfections. Some have more than others, like Laura.
Like Laura.
But you have to like her. You have to at least understand her. And so it was from there that I built the reason that she was angry. And that's when I did the research and went into attachment disorders and spoke to psychologists and figured out what I could build into the backstory to make her have this anger that she doesn't even know where it comes from. And she describes herself as having, her mother always said to her, you were born with fists for hands. Mm-hmm. And she always remembers being a little girl with just angry
ready to
fists,
fight, ready to fight, ready to go
even in her
whatever.
Little pink dresses, she still was ready to fight. And so the first thing was the violent incident, and then the anger, and then I built the psychology from there.
The story from there.
Yeah.
If there's anything in the process that's gotten easier, 3 thrillers in,
besides
plotting.
Wow.
The plotting helps.
Wow, easier. I think each book brings its own challenge. So this book was so easy to write once I decided, and with my editor as well, that this was the right book at this time. Mm-hmm. But I had actually finished a whole other book before this.
Really?
But which was darker and more backstory driven, and you might be reading that one day, I don't know. But there was just this decision that we should write this summer book that was a page turner, and that was a little bit of a different style for me. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge was really then having to write it that quickly to still be on schedule. So each book has its own challenge.
What you mean? First book, lots of time to write it. Second book, pressure of having written the first book.
Oh, yeah.
And then third book, what am I going to do with my career? Where's the direction going to go?
Yeah.
3 totally different things. And I don't think readers think about that a lot.
Yeah.
You just think about, they had to write the story, they sat down at their desk, blah, blah, blah. But it's really thinking about writing as a career, not just thinking about writing a story.
Absolutely. So the book that's coming out next year, which is still currently untitled, but that book was actually probably the easiest book that I've written, because we decided to do another page turner. I already had the concept, and I outlined it meticulously and worked with my editor to make sure we were all on board. And then, you know, it's just really one big draft, one, you know, edit on the ending. It was a much easier process because all those decisions were made beforehand.
Yeah, and actually
So-
you also realize that how many times you're gonna have to read the book. And I think that this is something that
Yes,
readers don't
that's
realize.
true.
I mean, you write the book and then
Yes.
you read it for multiple edits.
Yes.
I mean, and I've heard people say that if they don't love the book when they've turned it in and they start reading it the first time, they may sit there and say, I'm not going to publish this one because I know how long I'm going to have to live
Yeah.
with it and how many more versions of this I'm gonna have to take a look at. I mean, that's
Right.
really hard.
It's really hard. And I feel that if I always try to have a scene that makes me tear up a little bit and a scene that makes me have a chill.
Yeah.
And if those things stop happening, even after the fourth or fifth read through, then I worry. But for me, at least, they appeal to me, and I'll just be reading, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's the scene with the whatever, and it gives me a little chill. Or then there'll be some dialogue that's touching or emotional, and I'll be like, ooh, and then hopefully other people have the same
And
reaction.
if you're still having that reaction 4 and 5
Yeah.
times in, that's
Yes.
what's really important. Do you read your book aloud to yourself? Do you do that?
Absolutely. Oh my
And
gosh.
I've just heard of authors doing this because, of course,
Yes.
audio has become so big. So you've got to hear
Yes.
how things sound. But a lot of times, people say that they're reading the book and they change it because the cadence isn't right. And you realize on audio, it's not going to sound right.
And it's also a different part of your brain is working. So when you're reading, it's a different part of the brain than when you're speaking and hearing it, because you do the intonations and you have to bring in, I think, a different part of your brain. And so that's when you'll actually catch typos. I realize you've used the same expression too many times. But it makes it very hard for me to listen to my audiobooks, even though they're awesome. There's a UK version and the US version that are both finished, and they're both amazing. One just has British accents, which is so cool, but the Audible for this is amazing, and they picked the perfect voices, but it's so hard to listen to because it's not how I would read it in my head.
Right.
It takes you back, like, wait, did I write that? That doesn't sound like how I said it.
I could
Yeah.
say that different. There's sometimes authors go in and record, especially memoirs. They'll go in and record their own
I
memoirs.
can
They go,
see that.
I want to change that. And they go, no, you have to read exactly what's on the page.
Yes.
And I'm like, but it could have been better if I
Right,
said
right.
this. And I don't think there's been somebody in recording their own work
Yeah.
that hasn't said that.
Or
Hasn't
even-
felt that way.
Always, when I actually, it's very hard to go back and read the older books
Yeah.
because I think, why did I use that, or why did I write that? I could have made it better.
Yeah, a lot of people said they'll never go back and reread.
Yeah.
They'll never go back. They said we don't want to go back. We don't
Yeah.
want to see what we've done before.
I get that.
So you're doing a lot of events, and you're doing a lot of
Yeah.
events with other authors,
I
which I
am.
absolutely love. So tell me, what's fun about going out with other authors
Oh my
on the road
gosh.
as opposed to being by yourself?
Well, first of all, there's the company. Second, there's the pressure's off in the book talk. It's not all on you. So, which I love doing book talks, but it's just nice to be able to take a break and let someone else talk or have a conversation. But the thing about authors, especially thriller authors, is that it doesn't matter where we came from or how different we are in any other part of our lives. We all have one little part of our brain that is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to call it, but when you put us together, especially more than one, the conversations are so outrageous because you just feel like you're among your people in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And we just let loose with all of these, the things that come up with these dark, twisted plots.
Mm-hmm.
We just let loose because there's a permission there to do it. Like,
Right.
I know why you're saying that. You swear, you just say whatever you want, and you just have this freedom because you're with like-minded
people. They've been in the same place.
Yeah.
They've been trying to write these dark characters.
Yeah, and the laughter, we will feed off one another, and just nobody wants to leave because it's like this energy builds up. Very rare.
After sitting and writing by yourself
Yes.
for so long. I always
Yeah.
joke that you guys should do a panel like a narcissist, some sociopath all walk into the room.
Right.
And it's like your version of walking into the bar because you all have these different
Yeah.
damaged characters.
Yeah. And we love stories, so that's the other thing that happens is that everybody instantly knows everybody's business because everyone wants a story. So you could just say, oh yeah, I just came in from a such and such, I was on a date, and that's it. Everybody will stop and they need to know everything about the date. and why are you single? And before you know it, you have told like your whole life story because we're storytellers.
Right.
So everybody wants every detail.
Everybody's probing.
Yeah.
Everybody's probing. Oh wait, did that work? Did that not
Exactly.
work? What happened? Well, even happily married. Oh,
Just
you're
that-
dating.
Oh,
What
you
happened?
know everything about
Yeah,
everybody's
sure.
husband. You know, I mean everything about everything, and we always say it's in the vault.
Right. Right.
Whatever is said
Under the
here.
cone of silence.
Yes.
We're always sitting there like.
So
under
if
the
you
cone.
ever see like little inside jokes between authors on Twitter
Right.
about some random thing like gum or whatever, there was a story there.
There was
That's
a
in the
story.
vault.
It's in the
We
vault.
can't tell you. It's a bonding, and we don't see each other very often because we all write in our homes or offices, and so it's so important. But then we reach out to go on the road together,
Right.
and it's
That's been so much fun
so
to see
fun.
the combos that come together.
Yes.
Because on Wendy's site, you can just go out there and see
Yeah.
all the people that she's traveled with, besides her upcoming
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see like who you've paired with because it's not the same people. Some people
Yeah.
do the whole tour together. Like they'll just do everything together.
Right.
But here you've really broken up and you go to different cities as a result
Yeah,
because that author may
absolutely.
know everybody in that city.
And I just, there's an event in Pennsylvania that, they just wanted to do a panel, and I just threw it out there to all my thriller friends, and, we're pulling together probably 4 authors who are able to squeeze it in. I think they want to come, and I want to come to their events because we want to see each other,
Right.
and we want to help cross-promote our books, and there's a real feeling of community among writers in this genre. It's really wonderful.
And so many genres they don't have that. So many areas you
Yeah.
don't have that same group. And also I think that it's a lot of times it's women supporting women as
It
well.
is. We've got some dudes in our group.
You
That
do,
yeah,
you do.
Yeah, and they're awesome.
You're doing something with Riley Sager.
Riley
Is that
Sager,
probably
yeah. I always
a good one.
he's always on my list, reaching out to him, and he can hang with us.
Yeah, exactly. I interviewed him. I think it was
awesome,
with you. I
yeah.
think it was with Megan Miranda at Morristown
Yeah.
Festival of Books, and it was just really fun.
It's
really do this.
It doesn't matter how sweet or nice anybody is, there's that piece, and they will say something, and you're like burst out laughing, and it's really amazing. Yeah.
Well, this is so much fun.
It's
I mean,
so
we always
fun.
enjoy
We can
being
talk
able to
for
do this. We
hours.
can talk
I
for
know.
hours.
I know.
But this is one of our book reporter talks too. We try to limit these in time, but believe me, you're coming back for the next book because it's
I can't
always
wait.
so much fun, and we
Yeah.
always enjoy this. So
Yeah.
everyone, thanks for joining us. Wendy Walker,
you.
Night Before.
Night
Go to
Before.
wendywalkerbooks.com. Go out and find more information about where she's touring, more about the book, and there's some great video interviews on subjects we did not
Yes.
touch on today.
Oh yeah.
More about her internet dating out there.
Oh yeah. Lots of stuff.
Thanks everyone, and thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.